I'm trying to remember the last time we had this guest on the phone. It was when you tried to identify him. I had a bunch of celebrity interviews that I was playing back because I was celebrating 25 years on the air, and I guess that was about a year ago, come to think of it. But today we're not going to make a mystery of it. We're just going to say that we're pleased to have Al Martino on the line with us. Good morning, Mr. Martino. How are you?
Good morning. I remember that show. As a matter of fact, I've been getting calls for the last year saying it was Andy Williams.
Boy, they were guessing They were guessing the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, I think, when you talked. They were trying, but it was great fun, and you were a good sport about it. And eventually, somebody got it, and it wasn't all that hard. I think we gave some clues, like he sang the song from The Godfather at that time. And well, anyway, what have you been up to? Anyway, how you been?
Well, I've been fine. I've been traveling. I've been traveling ever since my first hit record back in 1952. The first time that I had the opportunity to go overseas was when I was contracted to go to the Palladium in London. And that was quite a long time ago, and I've been traveling ever since. I go to the continent, I go to Australia, Canada, wherever the planes can take me.
Yeah. You do like to sing, and in fact, I was reading some information here from the new Capitol release saying that you were actually born into a family of construction people, but you wanted to stay away from that manual labor, didn't you?
It was not only the manual labor. I don't mind manual labor. As a matter of fact, it's one of my hobbies.
Is it really?
Yes, one of my hobbies is construction work. Just before you called, I was making plans right now to put in a new shower for my daughter. I've got some...
Don't tell me you do plumbing, too.
Well, I don't. You see, I don't do the actual plumbing and the electrical work. I supervise it.
Oh.
You know what I want, because, you have to have a license for that. But I do the other type of construction, which does not require a license, like the stone work and the plastering and the. As I said, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
So I'm really not available to do that kind of work.
I've talked to people before, and they've always said that they had some other thing. If they wouldn't be in singing, for instance, if they weren't in music, they would like to play baseball or do something like that. How about you? If you weren't a singer, what would you be doing? Would it be construction work?
Construction work is very difficult because I'm a perfectionist. And if you want to be a rich contractor and a rich builder, you can't be a perfectionist. It's like a restaurant, If you want to be successful in a restaurant, you got to have mediocre food.
Yeah.
You can't have the best food because a lot of people don't know the difference between the best and not the best.
That's what's so nice about radio. If you make a little mistake, it's over and gone with. You have to go on to something else.
No, but if I wasn't, I'll tell you what I would do. If I wasn't a singer, I would go in the restaurant business.
Really?
Yes, because it's a part of show business.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people. Every day on a daily basis, and I love to make friends. And what other way can you make friends than through their stomach?
It's a good way to get to the heart, right through the stomach.
I entertain a lot at my home.
Yeah.
I have people come over and they enjoy my cooking. But again, I said I have to cook the best, or I don't cook at all.
When you're entertaining guests and you play music in the background, who do you have singing? Are they Al Martino records or are they Perry Como? I know Perry Como was one of your favorites, wasn't he?
I never put my own records on unless it's a new record, like this new CD that I have.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play that for a while, and when a guest comes over, I'll say, "Hey, have you heard my new CD?" And I'll put it on. But I don't overdo it. I play it once and then I put it away.
Isn't it great, though, that people like the Capitol people have decided to re-release a lot of the stuff on CD because it sounds so great. It sounds like it was just recorded yesterday.
I think it's the only company doing that. Quite frankly, I really do. Capitol's a great idea.
Yeah, Spotlight.
That stuff those songs or cuts are in the vault. They're sitting in the vault. As a matter of fact, I've been sitting in the vault at the same time.
Now you sound like you're on the old Jack Benny show. Remember that? He always had the guy guarding the vault. He would go down, and they would talk about the Revolutionary War or whatever, just because the guy had been there.
Ken, how far are you from Branson?
I'm we're about a state away, I guess, Branson, Missouri. You ever get down there to entertain?
Do you remember General MacArthur?
General MacArthur, sure.
Do you know what saying he was famous for?
It wasn't. We've only begun to fight, is it?
No.
Oh, it was old sail.
That's the guy in 1700s.
Old soldiers never die; they just fade away. Is that his?
Old soldiers never die; they just fade away.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what Branson is like. Old singers never die; they go to Branson.
and well, are you there very often?
I had never been there.
Oh, okay.
No one has made me an offer. Maybe I'm not old enough.
Well, maybe that's it. It's funny you should bring that up, though, but you're right. There's a lot of people, I guess Andy Williams, who you mentioned earlier, has a theater down there. Roy Clark does. And
well, I don't want to build a theater. I mean, look, I'm in the construction business. Before I was a singer, I could build a theater.
Sure you could.
You know what an investment that is?
And you would know enough to make the seats face the stage, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. But the point I'm trying to make is it's a big investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I would worry all the time that I'm building it. I don't know what kind of business I would do because there's a lot of competition there, Ken. An awful lot.
Yeah.
You got to luck out.
Well, isn't the business, I guess, you got to have a break, but even after you have the break, it's still a matter of really tough competition, and trying to make a living as a singer is incredible, isn't it?
Well, the first thing I'm trying to find out is whether how well I would do there.
Yeah.
Before I would accept an offer, I got to find out. I have to do some research and find out whether I could do the business.
I bet you could.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get you a little closer to Illinois at that time.
Why not?
But I know you've entertained in Chicago and everything. In fact, you were born in Philadelphia, so I'm guessing Pennsylvania is probably a place you've entertained a lot, right?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, born and raised there.
Yeah.
And I had to say that Philadelphia, geographically, is in the right spot. You're probably saying, well, why?
Yeah, why is that? That's a little further east than the Midwest, certainly.
Well, it's in the right spot because New York City is the mecca of showbiz during the time when I was pursuing a showbiz career, which means that you can commute to New York City on a daily basis if you could. If you couldn't afford room rent in New York, which we couldn't afford, so we would hitchhike, and back in those days you could hitchhike and not get mugged. You see, today you cannot get hitchhike.
No.
So, but in those days you could hitchhike, 2 or 3 guys will pick you up, take you to New York, and then we would take a train back again late at night.
Boy, that's
and be back for dinner. No, if I lived in Baltimore, if I lived in Boston or Pittsburgh, I couldn't do that because it's just too far.
Yeah.
So a lot of singers came out of Philadelphia, and that was one of the reasons, because of New York being so close.
Yeah. You raise an interesting thing. We just did a little bit of a retrospective on Route 66, since it goes from Chicago through Bloomington all the way out to L.A., and they talked about those years when service people would just be picked up. You know, nowadays, if you try to go hitchhiking, you're grateful to get a ride, but at the same time, you got to be leery, thinking that whoever would stop to pick you up is probably some kind of loser. You know,
Ken, those days are over.
They really are.
But I did a lot of driving up Route 66 in the early '50s. I made that trip many times, back and forth from California to New York.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with that route.
Let me break here for a second. We're talking with Al Martino, and I want to talk more about some of the cuts that are going to be found on this CD when you find it. The Capitol people have the Spotlight on Great Gentlemen of Song out, and Al Martino is one of them that they featured. It's a good CD, and we'll play some cuts, and we'll talk more in just a moment. You're in tune to WJBC, and this is the Behrens Show with Al Martino, our special guest. I'm sure you made a lot of new fans when The Godfather came out. My goodness, The Godfather's been out for a good many years now. I can't remember exactly the year it came out, but the haunting song, the melody that you sang, in fact, a couple of songs featured in there.
23 years ago, I think it is.
Yeah. That had to be a pretty popular song for you because it certainly brought you to attention, I would think. But you've done other things like Volare. Do you have any particular favorite songs that really come to mind? Which is the one that really made Al Martino?
I would say the first record. There's one in '52 that was a signature song, and then there's another one that came out that was even bigger than that, and that was Spanish Eyes.
Okay.
That was back in 1965, which was 13 years later.
There are such things, though. That would be a good one.
There are such things as one of those evergreens. Back in the 40s, There was a hit then. And also Close to You. Close to You was a song that Frank Sinatra did back in 1943. And Once Upon a Time is a great cut.
Yeah.
From a great Broadway show.
You know, you just mentioned Sinatra, and we lost Dean Martin recently. He's another one of these artists that they featured. Did you guys spend any time together, you and Sinatra, Dean Martin, you know, since you all recorded for Capitol?
Quite often. I mean, I saw Frank last week at Mateo's restaurant in Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hangout, Mateo's. Sort of a chic hangout on Sunday night.
We hang our sheiks out on Monday. That's wash day. We hang our sheiks out on Monday because that's wash day. The sheiks and the pillowcases.
every Sunday night, it looks like a wax museum in there. You know?
I guess we'll have to get, can the general public get into that place, or is it...
It's very difficult on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Very difficult. As a matter of fact, the general public doesn't have a chance to get there on Sunday night.
Okay.
On the weekdays, they can.
Yeah. Well, that may be the new Brown Derby, as it were, huh?
I think it's, yeah, it has that kind of an image. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What... You had such a long career here, and it's still going. I mean, it's not like we're talking about you like it's all over, because it certainly isn't. We mentioned El Martino travels around and sings and does a lot of things. Let's talk about some of these other cuts on the album. I mean, we mentioned There Are Such Things, Close to You, I'm in the Mood for Love. That's another classic.
Mm-hmm. Fascination.
Yeah. You know, when you look at some of these songs and you listen to the lyrics, which was your job, I guess, right, as a singer, to not only convey the melody, but the lyrics and the feeling and everything, there was some great writing going back in those days.
See, what I like about this album is that they put together a concept, and that's very important, that you establish one mood throughout the entire album.
And all these songs do that.
Yeah.
They're all love songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you even sing An Affair to Remember, which came to mind because of the release of Sleepless in Seattle. Wasn't that it? Wasn't that the movie?
I think the one you're talking about is When I Fall in Love. When I fall in love, it will be tomorrow.
Well, you have An Affair to Remember on here, though, too, and I was thinking...
It was?
Yeah, that's on this.
I didn't know that was in that movie.
Well,
great song.
I thought that was the name of the movie, come to think of it, and I thought they did a remake. I'm kind of mixed up here, but ever since they did Sleepless in Seattle, people were starting to talk about An Affair to Remember, because I think they showed some clips from that film in that movie.
Possibly, yeah.
I may be all wet.
See, I never saw the film.
Oh, okay.
I never saw the film, but I do remember the music in it.
And, of course, the song Till, that's on there.
Till, yeah.
Yeah. Are you Lonesome Tonight? Now, is that the same one that Presley sang, Elvis Presley?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it goes back way before.
Remember, Are You Lonesome Tonight was...
Did he have the hit?
By a band leader many years ago, long before Presley was born.
So you had the hit. You had a recording of it before Presley did, I bet, huh?
Oh, I recorded that back in the...
Don't date yourself, Al.
Presley was popular in 1956.
Yeah.
But I don't know when he recorded Are You Lonesome Tonight. That could have been in the 60s or it could have been in the late 50s. I have no idea.
Okay. We ought to compare versions sometime.
But I do know that the original record was recorded by a band leader.
Okay.
Back in way back.
Yeah. It is great visiting with you. You just seem like such a down-to-earth kind of guy. And, of course, we already know that you do construction work, so... It's not that we're going to call you and have you come over and do any estimates.
We all have to start somewhere. You know, I'll never forget it. My father wanted me to work with him when I was about 16 years old, and I said, Dad, I'd love to work with you, but I've got to find myself first. You know. And my father came up with a classic. He said, well, why don't you start looking under your hair?
I like that. Yes. You know, sometimes I think that's important. A lot of kids, some of us just started work as soon as we got out of school, and we've been working ever since. And maybe you need a little time to try to figure out what you want to do. I take it you don't have a whole lot of regrets. If you had it to do over again, you'd become a singer, wouldn't you?
I would definitely become a singer, but I would do it a little differently. You know, I would go at it slow, get the proper training, get the proper people around you, a great agent. Oh, yes. I would say that if I had to live my life all over again and I was a singer, I would probably do 500 new things correctly.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
At least 500, a minimum of 500.
Yeah.
These are all the mistakes that one makes in their careers. 500 mistakes is about average.
And some of those may be a little bit of a setback, and some of the things you think that maybe not, that may not be such a plus turn out to be pluses, right?
When you make a mistake, it creates a setback.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about any of these mistakes that you may have made or not?
Yes. Well, there's one particular mistake by leaving the country. I left the country in the United States in 1953.
You went to London, right?
Yes, and I stayed there 7 years. You know, that's a big mistake because there's an old saying, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, but you know, George Behrens and Gracie Allen went to London, and that's how they got recognized, or at least got into radio years ago. So it worked for them.
Stayed there for 7 years. I don't think they'd stay there that long.
Okay, maybe
but
not.
I should have came right back. I should have taken trips back and forth, but I stayed, and it was a big mistake. I was a young boy. I was pretty adventurous, you know, to be living in London.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to become an English citizen. So I decided to come back to America in 1959, and I had to start all over again, really.
Yeah.
I had to, if it weren't for Dick Clark and Alan Freed, now these are rock and roll jockeys.
Sure.
But I did a ballad in those days, and Alan put me on his show, and Dick put me on his show, because they were still playing ballads. And I thought it was wonderful to have Alan Freed put me on that particular show, because I created a comeback.
Right. And what ballad was that?
I Can't Get You Out of My Heart. It's a song that I produced back in 1959, which was mostly a regional hit. But it was enough. It was enough to get me back on Capitol Records.
Okay.
Because, you see, Capitol dropped me in 1953 when Frank Sinatra was signed.
Oh, yeah. He was doing...
He was signed. That was...
He had just come over from Columbia then at that point, I bet, right?
Yeah, he went to... No, he left... No, he didn't go. He went to Warner's.
Oh, okay.
He left Capitol, went to Warner's, started his own company called Reprise.
Right. Okay.
So I exited at the time. And then when I made my entrance back again in 1959, Frank exited. He left. So it was one of those things where he left, I came in, or I left and he came in. And then my career started all over again.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible. You have several chances at it. So some people never get the first chance, I guess.
Well, it's true. It's true. I was very fortunate that I had several chances.
Yeah. Well, you got to have some talent to back it up, and the right attitude and everything else. And that's what's so cool. I know. Have you acted in any other movie? I kept thinking about the Godfather, and of course, not only did you sing the song, but you were actually in that movie. Would acting be anything that you'd like to do in the future?
I'd love to do a movie, but The Godfather took quite a long time to make, and I was on that project for about 1 year. I went through a lot of postponements, but remember, Ken, I had to give up a lot of singing engagements in order to do that movie. I postponed no less than 35 engagements.
Wow. From
1971 or 1970, I postponed them to the following year. Las Vegas, a lot of places, and just to be available for the producer in Paramount, because you have to be available when they call you.
Right.
But if you're out in some place where you can't get to Los Angeles or Italy or wherever they're shooting the film, then you've had it. So I gave up. No, I'm not about to do that again, lose all that income.
Right. That was a big project, though. Like I say, the bigger the project, the more time it takes, I would think. It wasn't just a cameo thing where you could just walk on and get out of there.
Well, it was a tremendous project. It cost millions. Actually, to do a movie in 1972 to finish up at $12 million, that's a big, big project.
Today it would be
$12 million. Only the makeup man gets that.
That was when $12 million was $12 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's completely out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control, totally.
Yeah. But just think.
I don't know one actor that's worth $25 million. I mean, come on, let's
get realistic.
I don't understand it. I mean, the problem is that they can take 15 if they wanted to. They can take 10 if they wanted to. But they don't want the other act to find out that they took 10.
Right.
See?
Then that's a blow to the ego.
25. They want to outdo each other.
It's beyond me. There's a time when actors just struggle to get a job, and then when they get to that point, I don't know what happened in between, but it gets a little nuts.
Well, there's an old saying on Wall Street, greed is good.
As long as it's you or working for you, I guess, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice, though, isn't it, to know that you've turned out some work that'll always be around. I mean, in the form of recordings or at least motion pictures. If you were just in radio, whatever you do is gone when you walk out of the studio. So it's kind of nice. It's not immortality, I suppose, but it's pretty close to it. And the name Al Martino continues to go on. Well, I want to say, if people want to get a hold of this, they can certainly pick up a copy of Al Martino, Spotlight On. In fact, it's Great Gentleman of Song. They have the whole series out.
Yeah, that's great.
And there's like 18 songs on here. And boy, you've done so much in the world of entertainment to make it the world a better place, I would think, and a happier place. And so I want to thank you for this opportunity to visit with you today.
Thank you, Ken.
Al Martino, thank you.
Okay.